Hi everybody, welcome to the Hidden Benzo Chronicles. I am Wally Sam, and this is the Hidden Benzo Chronicles episode 5, tapering info and my own personal tapering method. I want to tell you about a taper method that I used, I created and I used it to taper off my own benzo Ativan faster. I also wanted to give you some information on why we must taper safely. For my method, I'm going to tell you how I did it and the materials that I used to do it, but I want to let you know that I'm not encouraging or telling anybody that they should do this. Just because it worked for me does not mean it will work for everyone, and I do not in any way give medical advice. I merely state facts that I've discovered during my research and my own personal experience from going through benzo withdrawal and helping people in benzo recovery groups. So a lot of people, including myself, once they learn what these medications are doing to them and that they're intolerant and that they need to come off of their benzo, they want to come off as fast as they can. And some people even stop taking it just cold turkey, which is actually really dangerous. And it doesn't make recovery easier. It actually makes recovery much more difficult. It makes recovery take a lot longer, and it makes the withdrawal a lot more severe. So the Ashton manual states that anybody withdrawing from benzos must reduce the dosage slowly. Abrupt or over-rapid withdrawal, especially from high dosage, can give rise to severe, sometimes dangerous symptoms and may increase the risk of protracted withdrawal. Protracted means lasting for a long time or longer than usual. In the beginning of my tolerance, I didn't know what I was doing, and I did some very large dose cuts, and honestly, I wonder sometimes if that's why I'm still sick. Anyways, Ashton continues to say, the aim is to obtain a smooth, steady, slow decline in blood and tissue concentrations of benzo, so that natural systems in the brain can recover their normal state and regain control of functions that have been dampened by benzodiazepine presence. She says sudden withdrawal from benzodiazepines leaves the brain in a state of GABA underactivity, resulting in hyperactivity of the nervous system. This hyperexcitability is the root cause of most benzo withdrawal symptoms. The reinstatement of the brain function takes a long time. Recovery is not unlike the gradual recuperation of the body after a major surgery. Healing of the body or mind is a slow process, and I know that nobody wants to hear that. I know that you're sick, I know that you're suffering, but tapering has to be done safely to prevent things from getting worse. I was told, and Ashton supports it in her manual, that complete healing cannot happen until the benzo is completely gone from the body. And that's not to say that healing doesn't happen during taper, because it does, but the dependence is also still being prolonged. So knowing all of this, I wanted to get off of my benzo as fast as safely possible. And in the beginning, like I said, I made dose cuts that were far too high. I didn't know what I was doing, and I made my symptoms much worse and much more severe. Luckily, after I made these huge dose cuts and made myself worse, I found a recovery group, and I found somebody who was much more experienced with benzo withdrawal information, and they explained to me that I was tapering way too fast and hurting myself. So, according to the Benzodiazepine Information Coalition, the general guideline for safely tapering off of a benzodiazepine is no more than 5 to 10% reduction every 2 to 4 weeks. Some people can't even go that fast. Some people can only cut 3% at a time without experiencing worse symptoms. That's something that everybody has to learn for themselves, how fast they can handle their, tapering. Once I got on steady doses and dose cuts, I was doing better, but I started having a new problem, and that was interdose withdrawal. Throughout the day, I would feel way worse because the benzo that I was on, Ativan, is a short-acting benzo, and I was only taking it once a day. So I started trying to figure out a way to not have interdose withdrawal, and the best answer I came across was a water taper. Water tapers are usually a lot slower and gentler with less symptoms, and they are better for interdose withdrawal because the medicine is dissolved and equally distributed throughout the water. Traditional water tapers usually have a person dissolve their medication in 300 milliliters of water. They drink that, and then each day they reduce the amount that they drink by 1 milliliter until they're done. For me, I didn't want to do it that way because at 300 milliliters reducing 1 milliliter a day, that's 300 days, and that's almost a year, and I wanted to taper off faster than that. For some people that might work better, especially if they're on a higher dose. I had started at 2 milligrams of Ativan, but had made some pretty big dose cuts before I started doing my water dosing. So I was at a lower dose when I started using the water taper method. And then for my own method, I decided to divide my daily dose into 4 parts so that I could try to prevent that interdose withdrawal. So what I did is I would cut my pill down every day with a pill cutter into whatever dose I was currently at that week or month, either with a pill cutter or a really small sharp blade. And then once I had the right dose, I would dissolve that in water in a water bottle. I didn't want to drink tons of water with each parts of my dose, so I chose to dissolve my pill into 120 milliliters of water in a water bottle, and then just measure out 30 milliliters 4 times a day for each part of my dose. And right before I would pour out each dose, I would, shake the water bottle up to make sure everything was evenly distributed throughout the bottle. And for measuring, I just used a measuring cup or a small measuring glass with 10 milliliter increments on it. And I also found it was really helpful to have a daily pill container so that I could, if possible, just cut all my pills at the right dose for that week and have them ready to go. I also kept a notebook to calculate all my upcoming dose cuts, and that was really helpful also. For some people, 5 to 10% is going to be so small that they would end up needing to buy a jewelry scale to accurately measure their dose cuts. That may be something worth looking into. As far as I know, they're not really expensive. So yeah, that was it. That was my method, just dissolving the pill into 100 milliliters of water in a water bottle every day, and then taking 30 milliliters 4 times a day. And I did that with each dose all the way until I jumped. As far as I remember, I think I'm pretty sure I cut 10% every 4 weeks until I got down under 1 milligram. And then I would either do dose cuts, still every 4 weeks or every 2 weeks if I felt that I could. I'm not saying that schedule and that amount of cuts will work for you. That's just what worked for me. Each person has to listen to their body and learn how big a dose cuts they can tolerate and how often they can tolerate to make the cuts. All I will say is please follow the safety guidelines of the Benzo Information Coalition and don't cut more than 5 to 10% every 2 to 4 weeks. Luckily for me, using my water taper method, I was able to come off the Ativan completely in 8 months versus 1 year with the traditional water taper. And if you want to try this method, it's completely your decision. I'm not advising or encouraging anybody to do this. I'm just putting the information out there of something that worked for me. It definitely may not work for everyone. But if nothing else, I hope that this taper information has been helpful to you. If you have any thoughts or suggestions for future episodes, please comment and let me know. And if these videos are helpful to you, then please, like and subscribe. I'm Wally Sam, and this has been the Hidden Benzo Chronicles. And please join me next time for more Hidden Benzo info.